Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Makers of Minnesota podcast, where we talk to cool people doing cool things. I am a big fan of granola and have been a big fan of Patti's granola for a couple of years now. I met Patti Heimbold, I think, first at a makers event and with nut mixes primarily. She has a rosemary nut mix that I was crazy about, and then I discovered the granola. And Patti, you really seem like you are making some strides this year in trying to grow your business. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. Yeah,
Thanks.
this is I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it's my 10th year of being in business. So
Okay.
feels not really like it can't really be true, but it is.
And how did you start? Like 10 years ago, can you remember your beginnings?
I do. So I started out, a very typical story of, all the people in on my kids' hockey team, they wanted to, like have it, and then they wanted to buy it. It kept kind of like, moving from friends of mine to people that I didn't know. And so then finally they're like, can I buy it? And so that's how it kind of started. And then I decided to just do some local farmers markets just because my kids were going off to like junior high and high school. And I thought, oh, I want to just try this and people like it. So I did. And then I was approached by Kowalskis, almost like my first market. So that was really fortunate for me. And I remember thinking, how am I going to do this? Like, I don't even know what I don't even know how to get to a UPC code, all
Right.
those things. That was a little daunting at first, but once you figure it out, then it all works out. So they were very supportive in helping me get started.
Were the nuts first or the granola first?
The granola was first, actually. I almost didn't do the nuts because the rosemary was so time consuming. I mean, I was hand chopping it and I was just like, I can't do this, and it was just wasn't the holiday, so it wasn't as popular at the time. It was in the summer. But then I just kind of didn't give up on the nuts, and then they went into Kowalski's and they kind of actually had more legs to them, I guess I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's funny because you're in two categories, so you're in two
right,
separate places.
right.
And
Which is
do you, that's unusual and challenging in a grocery store because you have like two separate buyer groups and
right. So it's interesting because the granola was what started, but that's such a saturated category that it's very hard to really break ground and really, get into that category very, very, intensely, I guess. And but the nuts are what have just kind of set me apart, I would say, more than anything. So I've got a good following on the granola, but I would say definitely the nuts have become kind of a Minnesota gift. A lot of people love to tell me how much they give them for every occasion when they're, hostess gifts. And I really started delving into a lot more corporate gifts this past year. So that's kind of exciting because that's a really great opportunity, I think, for, the years to come.
do you have experience in graphic design?
I do not. No.
Because you have a really distinct design and your website's simple, but your pictures are really nice. Like you look like you have been really thoughtful about putting your pictures and your design together.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you bring that up because my husband works for a design firm. And I had kind of done my own website before, and then this year they redid it for me and did some nice photography and kind of made it a little more bright and colorful and a little more. I think it represents my personality and kind of my company in general. So the flower, which has nothing to do with nuts or granola, has just always been kind of a personal logo of my own. I mean, I have so
Yeah.
many misshaped daisies in my house. It's ridiculous. It's just kind of a something that people always give me and that kind of thing. So when I started out and simply doing farmers markets, I was like, well, I just want my flower logo, because I didn't really think it through like, oh, I'm going to be a nut company or a granola
Right.
company. I wasn't your typical big business plan. And then I kind of just jumped into it and it sort of worked. So,
And you just kept growing. What was it about the gift sets that kind of made you decide this was the year after 10 years to get into that space?
well, I've always I've done a lot of them just like through people networking,
Yeah.
just kind of people I knew, and they would just um they would they would say, oh yeah, I'd like to give that. And, just customers of mine would ask me. But this year when I redid my website is kind of where I was like, okay, now I've got to get it out there a little bit more. So, and once again, it's a lot of word of mouth. It's not like I had tons of people go to my website and start ordering gifts,
Right.
but it just kind of is a little bit of a good networking thing. And
Your packaging is different in
yeah,
that it's like a cellophane package that is tied,
right.
and that's a little bit different than some of the other nut companies that we see in more of like a pouch, or some people started with craft paper. Tell me
Right.
about your packaging and why you like it.
Well, it's interesting because sometimes I think I can't believe I still have the same packaging that when I started, but it's what people always tell me they like about it. It gives it a very homemade feel. It gives it a gifty feel. And Kowalski's is like, don't change your packaging because it will hurt you. And I would say that with my granola, I used to package it kind of that same way. It doesn't stay as fresh because like the cranberries get kind of hard in cellophane. So
Sure.
so I did change that to a pouch, and I will say my sales kind of went down. Like once you start looking a little commercial, a lot of local, I don't say local people, but people that want to give
Enthusiasts.
local,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, exactly. They want to give it where it looks like a little more homemade. So it's kind of a funny topic, but that is it's staying. So
I
it's
like
a lot
it.
more expensive, but it's good. It's good.
What's been the hardest part about growing your business?
Um, that's an interesting question. I was thinking about it last night. It's like I'm not in a lot of accounts, but the places I'm in are really good, and they've been super supportive and super just, wanting to just see me grow. I guess that's not really saying what's the hardest part, but I think that yes, trying to get into smaller accounts and then sort of maintaining them and sort of
Growing the relationship, as it were.
right. I think growing the relationship has been okay, but it's just kind of like if I'm trying to think of some of the stores that maybe are not in town, and it's just a little bit harder to not have kind of the word of mouth, like, oh, these are really good, you can get them here, or um, that kind of thing. I'm trying to think of another thing that's just been challenging, but that would be something I think.
So as you've grown, have you expanded outside of the Twin Cities? It sounds like you have.
A little bit. I'm in some stores in Wisconsin and more closely to where my cabin is or my in-laws live
Yep.
and places like that. And then some places up in like Brainerd, more lake area. But yeah,
In like,
I haven't tried as hard as I probably could, to be honest. So I've got a nice work life balance.
yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think kind of
Right.
in some respects, because you've identified that as important to you, it helps you zero in on kind of what the important aspects of your business are. And it seems
Right.
like the relationship and the kind of intensity with which you can focus on a store and help them
Hmm.
support you is important to you versus just like the total growth strategy where people are just like scale, scale, scale.
Right. It is absolutely that. I've had to kind of come to grips with that over the years. I kept thinking, you know, should I be doing this? Should I be doing this? And it really has come very clear to me just kind of what I want out of my business. And it's right where I want it to be. I have a great relationship with my Kowalski stores. I mean, I just feel like they're like, I don't say family, but I really feel like a part of that organization.
Yeah.
And they've been so supportive of me, and I think I really support them, and it's a really good working relationship that we have. And same with my other accounts. I'm in General Store of Minnetonka, and they're really supportive, and some specialty cheese shops and that type of thing. So
Yeah. General
it's good.
Store has sold just a ton of my cookbooks and they've been so great to
Oh,
work with. And
they are amazing.
I
I
did
never
a,
had no idea.
yeah,
you
I
know.
did a book signing, and like from the entire time I was there was practically a line out the door at the holidays.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's crazy. I had no idea that it would be that kind of a because I had tried to get in there in the beginning. I just dropped off samples. They don't really like set up appointments. And then the buyer actually contacted me and said, we'd like to try your stuff. And so that was really, really great. So, yeah.
What's the hardest part of your day to day, like, or your week, where you're just like, oh,
Um, it's funny because in the first 9 months, I make the same amount of nuts that I make in the first 9 months of the year. I make that same amount in the last 3 months.
yep.
So I usually, so it's that time of year, it's just go, go, go all the time. It's just constantly making, having my people help me to like manage or to package and then to deliver. And it's just like, it's a constant. So like right now for me, I'm a little bit slower. I'm a little bit like, oh, so I have a hard time kind of like not being busy and not feeling like I'm doing something to grow my business always. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me to sometimes to kind of sit back a little bit and organize my week efficiently. I was just thinking today, I'm like, I'm not being efficient with my days because I have so much more time.
I
So the hard,
absolutely can relate to what you're saying because I was just on vacation and I was like, I hate to say I was bored, but
right.
like it took me 2 days to kind of just accept the fact that this was going to be the kind of vacation where there wasn't a lot to do. So I needed to just relax and read or kind of be in the moment. And it was
Right.
really challenging.
Well, every January, I know I'm going to go through a huge letdown period. And so I try to like go, I went on a little long weekend. I'm planning a trip to Italy for my husband and I in May. So that's been a big, like, I'm like, okay, I'm delving into that. And it sounds crazy, but you're right. You have to really just sort of change your mindset and just kind of go, it's okay to have a day that's not just jam packed every minute of
Yeah.
the day, you know?
And that productivity kind of happens in lots of ways.
Right.
You can go, 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 but then sometimes you maybe just need a day to recharge. And I don't know. I don't know how I know when I need it, but and sometimes it's like you just get sick, right? Your body just is like,
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
you're
Yeah.
done.
Right.
But trying to be more intentional as I grow older about taking time is something that's on my mind. I'm not good at it yet, but it's on my mind. I'm thinking about it.
Me too. That's exactly why I think that whole, as my business has moved along for 10 years, I've been like, it's okay to want the, work-life balance type of a business,
Yep.
than to just see how I can scale it and make it huge and,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
and be okay with that.
What part of your business do you hate?
Oh gosh. Um, Well, I tell you one thing that I haven't, this is probably a regret and a part I hate is social media. I'm really not good at it and I don't really do it and I really never have. And so um, that is something uh, I kind of regret though, because I mean, the way of the world, right? Um,
But what's
but
preventing you? I mean, obviously you don't want to do it, and that's a
right.
reality, but do you, it's hard to monetize. Like if you were to say like, oh, I'm going to hire someone to do social media, it would be a long time, I think, before, not a long time, but a time before
Yeah.
you would be able to be like, well, I spent X amount, therefore I made X amount. So do you feel like that ship has sort of sailed or?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I met with a girl and then she's like, well, I need to come into your kitchen for like 2 weeks and just take pictures and do the, and I was like, oh my, it overwhelmed me in like a second.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, that's not what I want to be. I'm not good about being in people's faces every single day.
Yep.
That's just my personality to be like that. I just kind of like let things happen organically, I guess. And so I think it's worked for me. It's been okay, but I'm kind of curious what it could be like if I would have tried a little harder 5 years ago.
I
So,
wonder too if you couldn't turn that spigot on just in LinkedIn and like in the corporate gift side.
right. Yeah, that's a great idea. So I'm
Because
going to network more with people this year. I'm going to try harder to be like, okay, this is why I'm going to meet with this person, to talk about this and just work at things that way.
and be
So,
more intentional. Yeah, because I think in LinkedIn, there's still quite a bit of space in
mhm.
terms of the entrepreneur world, business to business world. I think sometimes it's easier to get seen there, and that might feel more authentic to you.
Right, absolutely. Because I do. I just, I don't want to keep coming up with things for me just to put on Insta. How many pictures can I take of myself with roasted nuts? I mean, and I know it doesn't always need to be about me, pictures of me. I totally understand that, but it just,
But then it's just pictures of nuts, right? Oh, wait. Did you change some setting? Hi, can you hear me? So you went on mute. Oh, there you
okay,
go.
okay,
All right, so I can edit that part out of the middle.
okay, sorry.
That's okay. No, so then at some point, yeah, if it's not pictures of you, then it's pictures of nuts, or it's aspirational life about nuts, or aspirational life about granola. It is kind of hard to keep that up.
It is. And so I just kind of, I don't know, but I do feel like, there's a lot of, people that share things and it kind of goes, I don't know. That's probably the hardest part for me, I guess I can
Yeah,
say is
yeah,
just
no, and you're not alone. And I get that. Are there products that you use in your house that are Minnesota makers that you're just crazy about?
yes, I really like, do you know garlic from garlic sauce?
Yeah,
Yeah, we love his garlic sauce. Um, let's see here. Of course, I'm a big fan of T-Rex cookies.
yes.
Can't have those in the house too often, but
No, I
oh,
just had
those are
coffee with her today and
oh yeah.
she's redoing her packaging or has redone her packaging. Um, and it was just interesting to talk with her about her business too. I love talking to people about their businesses.
I know, I know. I love to hear about it too. And she and I started, we were in the same shared kitchen when we first started. And we would get there at 5 in the morning. And we were our shared kitchen was right there at George Floyd Square.
Yeah, 38th in Chicago. We were just talking
Exactly.
about that space today.
Yeah, that's where we started. And she and I would go in there at like 5 in the morning and share the kitchen together. And so yeah, she's great. Let's see here. What else do I buy? Oh, off the top of my head, I can't even think of anybody else. But just I love to support Minnesota makers.
Yeah,
It's great.
and there is so many at Kowalskis.
Exactly. Yeah, they're very good about doing that. And I feel like uh I feel like so many have supported me too.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure. So
yeah.
if you were going to have any like words of wisdom after being a business person for 10 years to a
Mhm.
struggling entrepreneur who's listening, who is wondering how to get their product going or if it's worth it, what would you say about like your journey and your work-life balance?
I think I would kind of say think about what you really like to do, and don't spread yourself too thin as far as like your product line. Maybe focus on what, like if I were to start now, I would say I would just focus on nuts. You know
Yep,
what I mean? I would just focus on one or the other. And I think I do that, to be honest. I feel like I kind of do that. But to kind of have just a better focus of your business and what you want to accomplish, and make sure you love it. Make sure you love it, and make sure you're ready for it, because I think um, some people, maybe like if my kids would have been younger, I think this would be really hard and I would have probably been done a long time ago, you
yep.
know? So the kind of time, make sure you're timing it when you're ready for it.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's
So
great advice. Well, it's good to
yeah.
talk to you. Happy 10-year
Yeah.
anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
10
you.
years is, they say you're unemployable now, Patty, because you've worked for yourself
Okay.
for 10 years.
Well, am I retirable? That's when my next question. No, I'm kidding. I'm not ready to retire at all.
I know
So
it's probably another podcast too of like how do entrepreneurs and small business people actually retire?
it is really true. I always think, who will take this over? Like, it's been a really nice business, and I hope someone would do that, because it really is a great business to have. So
Yeah, you'll find someone. Thanks for joining me,
okay,
Patty. I appreciate
yeah,
it.
thank you. All right.
Okay, we'll talk
Bye bye.
soon. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.